Hello, everyone. It's 2 o'clock. I almost, my heart almost skipped a beat at two, thinking, wait, I was supposed to be online at 1, but this is the new time. Welcome to Live from the Green Room. I'm Monique Renee, Silver Plus Studio photographer here. And at this point, we're going live every Monday now at 2 p.m. Mountain Time here in Colorado. So I hope you have seen the notifications for that. So here we are. Hi. It's hot out. I just got back from the shelters and hi, William. Yes, it was low key, 4th of July was pretty low key. It's also Emmy's birthday, which is my fiance's daughter. So we had a little cookout right here. How was yours, William? I hope it was good. Oh, hello, Frank. Actually, I just saw Frank again, like an hour and a half ago. Huh, Frank? Takes me at least a half an hour to get home from the shelters now that I'm way far other side of town. Let me know that you can hear me. I believe you can. So welcome, everyone. Yes, I hope your 4th of July was good. Like William said, if you're in the US watching this, quiet but fun. Yeah, this is the first year we've been in this neighborhood, and there was a lot of fireworks. And across the pond, we could see some fireworks that looked like they were from a town. So I don't know what town. Oh my gosh, right, Frank? It felt like extra warm, even though I think temperature said 85. I think also my AC is not so great in my old car now. So that could be it as well. Oh my goodness. Sorry for the last minute switch up in times for this show. And I'm going to explain that today in the show. So stick around. Let's see. Is there anything I need to let you know? Today we are going to be talking about being back at the shelters, volunteering as the photographer. Let me make my little name go away here. And kind of what that looks like, at least here in Colorado at ours. And what I want to do is just kind of give you a feel of what I've gone through, and Frank can pop in here anytime as well. And then also I got pulled up on the other screen, the volunteer safety protocols that they published about a week ago. And I have it ready for screen share, but I don't know if they want me to share it, but I am going to talk about these points just so you have an idea of what might be expected at your shelters when you return to them. I know the country and the world is opening up and closing and kind of us all on different phases right now. And then different shelters and organizations have different protocols. Obviously, some of it just depends on like your mandates for your area, how big your shelter is, how much staff they have, how well they can like clean in between, because if we can't have volunteers there helping the staff, right? So there's this whole thing. So I just wanted to kind of let you in on that and let you know a little bit of what to expect as far as what I've experienced. And Frank can attest to that too on the cat shelter side of it. We've both been there. I've been over to the dog side of our shelter too. They're in separate areas of town for ours, and just what that looks like. So it's a little different, but we're making it work. And if you have any questions about any of this, let me know. So this kind of goes along with the video I produced and premiered on Friday with Frank. Thanks again, Frank, for showing us all your, you forgot. So showing us all about your new speedlight setup, which has this little tripod that everybody loves. But guess what? I'm very sorry. That tripod is older and they no longer make it. But it's really cool. And if you don't know what we're talking about, you'll have to go watch the other video where I talk about Frank's off-camera flash speedlight setup in the kennels at the cat rescue. And you'll get to see some pretty kittens. Hello, Patty. Welcome, welcome. So welcome, everyone. Let's see. First of all, I would say my very first, I should have written notes. I did not. I just wanted to just give my feel for it and go over some of the things that you might expect. I've got my list of their protocols over here on the screen, which is very similar to what I've implemented in my own studio, but they just have to do it on a much bigger scale. So I would say, first of all, have patience. They are working through all of this newness as much as anyone else. And they may not quite know what to do with you. Their first thing is to take care of all those animals, right? So they want to make sure all the animals are taken care of. So that might mean they're bringing volunteers in first that could help care for the animals, clean kennels, take them for walks, cut up treats, whatever it is they need to have done. So that might actually be their first tier. And then eventually they'll let the photographers back in. Some things that might be is you might photograph only outside, or you might photograph only inside, and you might have to work around other groups of volunteers, which we're having to do. So just really obviously have patience. If you work with these organizations, your heart goes out to them anyway, but I just thought I would throw that out there for anyone who hasn't actually worked with a shelter yet. Get a little idea of what they're in for. So first of all, last week was my very first week back. I went to the cat side, and that's what the video is from. And then I think a separate day, I can't remember now. Yes, the next day I had my dog set for Bailey was being groomed at the same place. That's one of their revenue streams is grooming, and it's awesome. And I thought, what am I going to do for a couple of hours? If you're letting volunteers back, maybe there's some dogs I can photograph. And there was. Luckily, that day, the manager of that side was there, and she knew like all the dogs, and it was a nice day, and we were able to go out in the outside big run area, and she just took one dog at a time. I did like 12 dogs last week. It was awesome. Yeah. Yes, be flexible with the time they want you to be at the shelter for sure. And so last week I went back to the dog and the cat, and then I went back today as well. So one of the things that I'm running into is coordinating, like Frank just said. For me and my studio, Monday works the best. Mondays and Fridays are typically light on client work, and it's a good way to start the week or end the week. And I've tried many different days of the week. I've been volunteering there for 6 years. And Monday is really just a good day for me. And then it's kind of good for them too, because then they have those photos to share the whole week for people who want to adopt. And these are the dogs and cats that obviously they were already adopted over the weekend. So I found that if I photographed on a Friday, a lot of those animals would already be adopted. So if I photographed on a Monday, these are the dogs and cats that were left over after maybe an adoption run on the weekends. Anyway, there's a lot to go into that. So I thought for my studio too, Mondays were good. And for Frank, Mondays are good. And Frank and I work together at the cat shelter. And that's really important for us because it's so hard to find a cat wrangler or someone who will come in every week at the same time, which is what I do every week, same time, 1 hour. So what we've had to do is I don't have an assistant anymore at the dog shelter. He has become a canine coach for them. And so he needs to volunteer in other areas, which is great. So I'm working on, I think I just got a volunteer to help me there, or a staff member. And then I have to be at the cat rescue at a very specific time in between their other volunteer shifts. So when I'd previously be there around, what time was it, Frank? Like 10 or 10:30. Now we've moved it to noon, because noon to 2, there's no other volunteers there in cleaning cages or playing with the cats or doing anything on the cat side. So that's why I had to shift everything an hour, and that's impacted this show. So there you go. And, kind of some cushion between there, because it takes about 20 minutes, I guess, to get from the dog shelter to the cat shelter part. So that's kind of what we've done to work around. They also only have so many volunteers they can have on site at a time. Well, or they've chosen to, they work with all the regulations in our area. So sometimes one time works better than another because of the other volunteers they're trying to juggle, and staff, and open hours for the public. And so like the cat rescue side, people can now come physically into the shelter, which happened today. Somebody misread his appointment to see his cat and thought it was today, and it's actually tomorrow. So that's okay. Frank and I just stepped outside and chit-chatted. Just go ahead and throw in comments if you have any questions. I know it's always an uncertainty of what things are going to be like now. So this is one of the things. Only the volunteer, like sometimes I will bring Lizzie and Emmy with me to the shelters, and they're helping, but they can't now. So you can't bring any other extra people to help. One volunteer per open shift. Okay. Obviously, having not come in contact with anyone with COVID-19 symptoms, obviously. Wash your hands, stay 6 feet away as best as possible from other people. This can be tough when it's a smaller facility or a smaller room that you use. Oh, that's a good question, Patty. Let me come back to that. Do you clean your camera and equipment? I'll come back to that. Let's see. Ooh, take your temperature. I didn't do that. Okay. Obviously, you have to wear a mask all the time. Only stay during your designated shift. So one of the things is Frank and I happened to be at the cat side 10 minutes early today. And I had to ask, I said, we're 10 minutes early. Can we start? Where in other times it's been just fine. Just set up and work around people. Not now. They still have their other volunteer shift to finish up. So that's something to keep in mind. They'll probably implement at your shelter as well. Email them if you're having any symptoms. They have a volunteer recording, like to keep track of volunteer hours. Be sure to still do that on your personal computer. Don't use the ones at the shelter anymore. Only spend time in the area that corresponds with your volunteering efforts. Today, we were going to photograph some dogs in the meet and greet room, and that didn't work out for a few reasons, but just because there wasn't that many dogs and they were kind of shy. But I needed treats. So I asked permission to the front desk if I could go to the back and get the treats and come back, and that was fine. So stay in your area. Don't be in the room if the adopter's in the room, which we encountered today, which was totally fine. Frank and I just stepped outside and chit-chatted. These protocols will be in place until otherwise notified. Check in with staff if you have any clarification or need support at all. I could swear, yes, wear a face covering during your entire shift. So when I was outside last week at the dog shelter, I was outside quite a ways from the entrances. So between dogs, I would pull my mask down, and then I just put it up as soon as they could see them coming. So, but when I'm at the cat side, it's on all the time because we're in a very small room and it's warm in there and the whole thing. It's just safer. So that's what we are experiencing right now at our shelters. We're able to come back. We have to, few people there. Don't bring any extra people. Wear your mask, wash your hands, take your temperature, let people know if you have any questions, and really adhere to your role. So if you're going from 10 to 11 as a volunteer in this room, that's what you do. You go to that room, you do your volunteer efforts, you leave. So that's pretty much the long and short of it. Basically, what you'd expect from any other business is what they're trying to do there whilst taking care of live animals. So you can imagine when I'm at my studio, I don't have animals there I'm caring for. So there's a whole other layer of things they have to consider in these times. So that's what it's been like. It has been nice to be back. We kind of do this air hug. Frank, you could probably see that on the video. Yeah, what do we got here? Frank says, yes, be flexible. Noon to 1 at the Mulberry campus. Yeah. So the Mulberry campus, that's the Mulberry Street is what they talk about, is where the cats are, where Frank and I meet up. And so that's our block of time. That's it. Like, I don't know, Frank, if you had a lot of kitties on your side of the list to photograph in the kennels. Did you get to all of them? Or like I restrict myself to an hour generally. So I get to as many as I can in an hour. And that's what I've done for years. But now it's like an hour. So that's what we're doing. So Patty and Frank, go ahead and answer that. I know that there's sometimes a lag. Obviously, if you're on this live stream, you must not have been too far outside of those times. Patty wants to know, do you clean your camera and equipment? I have not historically. I don't ever let anyone else touch my camera gear, honestly, including the flash. Like, I place my flash. Now, the table setup that Frank and I use, wash your hands afterwards. I need to wash that and kind of rebuild that whole table anyways, just because it's like 6 years old now. So it's time for a rev up there. Patty, it's something I should think about more. What's more important from my years of working in the vet field would be like change your shoes or step on a little towel with bleach water before I came in the house if I thought there was any parvo puppies or anything like that. But I never go on the vet side at the shelter. I only am on the other side where all the cleared dogs are. If they bring any of the dogs from the vet side, it's only because maybe they're just recovering or, there's nothing that's transmittable to other dogs. So if I was worried about bringing something home to my own dog, I would think more about that. But I don't actually wash all my equipment. Now, my camera bag, what I'll try to do if I'm out in that big yard, I'll get one of the random chairs and put my camera bag on there, partly because I like to pee on it. So you. Patty, let us know if you have any protocols for cleaning. I'd love to know. My 15 years working in the veterinary industry, sometimes I have more paranoia than I think I should have, and sometimes I have way less. So it's always good to look at those processes, isn't it? Vicky, oh, welcome, Vicky. That's okay. It's a new time. It's hard to get used to. Frank, you had to skip 2 of them on your list. Okay, so Frank's part of the list got pretty big today. Let me see. What I do is I take a picture of the list, and I had very few. Which sometimes works out because then, I don't have as many I have to edit, right? So here's my list. Frank had, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 kitties, and I had 3. So that's some setup, right? So it takes a little bit of time to set up, get the kitty comfortable, get some photos. And if they're moving around a lot or they want to come out of the kennel, you have to figure out how to deal with that. So I don't usually stay when I usually get mine on the table. We pack up the table and I leave. And it's kind of nice for Frank to have that space. Cats like the fewer people on set as possible. I did offer to stay today. So points for that. Yeah. So you did have to skip 2. Okay. Yeah. Was that, I'm assuming, Frank, that's due to time since that's what we were talking about. Let's see. How do your dog respond to the smells from shelter? It's funny because a lot of people say their dogs really freak out on them. Like, oh my goodness, where have you been? You've been cheating on me. And my dogs over the years have never even noticed, never cared. Maybe because that's what I do all the time. I'm always petting people's dogs no matter where I am, and photographing them and in dog friendly places. So they think maybe they're just blasé about it. But they don't really have an opinion most of the time. Bailey's just like, oh, hey, you're home. And then, okay, I'm going to take a nap again. Let's see. Patty says, use a fabric backdrop. Oh my goodness. Yes. Okay. So Patty, I absolutely will do that. I used to use a cloth backdrop every week, and I moved over to that transom that just can be wiped off, which is that plastic kind of background material from Savage Universal. And so that would just be wiped off. But every time I use fabric, absolutely, it is washed. Paper backdrop, I just recycle it. So that kind of thing for sure. Yeah, Bailey, she don't care. Let's see. Nelson and Rakan were super cute. Yes, those kitties. Yes. I know. Rakan. Oh, because he was in that little cone bed. Let's see. Dogs are probably better than cats. Cats just aren't as forgiving. Y'all are talking amongst yourselves. I could tell. Your dog, Patty's dog, sniffs me when you come home from the shelter. Yeah, I don't know what the deal is with my dogs. They're just like over the years. It's kind of funny. I would totally expect them to do what Patty's dog does, or even more. Just like, why? How could you? So Patty and William, are you, I'm assuming, not back at your shelters yet? Have you gotten any communications from them about kind of where they're at, or if they'll have you back anytime soon, or another way to go about photographing maybe fosters? I think some people are trying to come up with ideas that maybe they'll meet a foster at a park and have a long lens and edit out the leash and that kind of thing. So long-term fosters, I would definitely be starting to get some creative ideas and some communication going with them, because this would be a time, if your city is open, to offer that, even if you're not going all the way to the shelter like Frank and I are. And they were really good about it too. They said, if you're comfortable, they asked me if I was comfortable coming back. So that was nice too. I want to show you. Keep typing though. I want to see what you have to say. What are we at now? Like 20 minutes? Okay. Do you want to? I know this is a loaded question because I just know you're going to say yes. Do you want to see some kitten pictures from today? Let's see. They're not back where you're. Okay, I didn't think so. Spoke with the supervisor. Very good. She said they should be open to volunteers this week, but right now they don't have any animals. Oh my gosh, are you having the same things we are where the animals are just getting adopted so fast? Those 12 dogs I photographed last Tuesday, a lot of them were adopted very quickly. But what's kind of nice is they were able to get some social media splash, even if those dogs were already, adopted. It's a way to liven up their feed. And right now we're working on some images for their online gala that's coming up. Yeah, they are, which is good news, right? They're getting adopted fast. That's great news. Yeah, but I'm so glad that you have that line of communication, because when it is time, or they do have a foster or something that they need photographed, you'll be top of mind, Patty. So that's amazing. That's really good to have that relationship. Vicky says, love to see and hear the animals are getting adopted quickly. Love that. Yes, that was a very interesting side effect of the pandemic, right? I think so. It's a good news. I've got a vote from Patty. Does William and Vicky and Frank and whoever else is here want to see kittens? Keep in mind, these are straight out of my camera. I have done nothing to them. Worry that when things really open up, there'll be a lot of returns. Yes. So there is a concern for that for sure. And I know that the shelters kind of figured that. So what I'm hoping is that they're going home with lots of education and resources and referrals to dog trainers. I know my dog trainer is really worried about that too. And so they have a whole program called Pandemic Pups that they're helping people out as they transition into the next phase of the town and the job that they have. Okay. Ooh, let me get some water. Let me give you a little backstory of the kitten pictures today. The gala that was supposed to be in April, then they moved it to August in about 3 or 4 weeks. And now it's moving to online. So they're doing a gala, and most of these places have a theme to their gala. And this year it is 1980s. So we tried to brainstorm ways to showcase 1980s, and we just didn't have any dogs that would work out for this. But we had some kitties that we just pretty much scattered the props around. Yeah. Well, what did Vicky, back to our last subject, it would be good to have stories from those that were adopted out during pandemic if they get brought back. Oh, yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, I'm not sure what they're doing about that. But the shelter that I work with, they're very good about, you can bring the dog back and the cat. Pretty much no questions. Like, they want to know, obviously, so they can prevent whatever it was from the next people. But Frank, yeah. No in-person gala. Nope. I know. I didn't think so either. The big county fair was canceled, so I assumed the gala would be canceled as well. So they're figuring out a way to make it online, which actually ends up being much cheaper for them in the long run, but it probably doesn't raise as much money. So we'll see. We'll see how that goes, because I know they did the online auction back then. So like in April. All right. Okay. I've got some votes for kittens. Let me see here. Which screen should I do? This one? Whoa. And that is not filling my whole screen. So let's, we're getting a little bit of a lag. Here we go. All right. So here we are in my Lightroom screen. And here are the kittens. And so these are all kittens that were posing within these props. And props, to Frank for helping style all this. So we started off with, I'm just going to turn away from the microphone a little bit. Here we go. We started off with just laying these out. What they had was just some bright colored 80s themed bracelets and necklaces. They also have some leg warmers and headband that were only appropriate for dogs. So we didn't use them with the kitties, but take a look. That's with my little table set up and that plastic translum we talked about, Patty. So I got to get my camera back in the mode. Oh, and some of these are loading. These are 42 megapixel pictures on the Sony a7R III. So you can kind of see my focus is off a couple times, but isn't that cutie patootie? If we were to develop this, I would do my normal thing where it's 8x10. I just feel like that works out pretty good. Oh, I hate when Lightroom does that. Doop-a-doop. And since this kitty is looking up, and I am always thinking about copy space, I think it would be cute. And then you can talk about their gala right there. And then we can do like an auto and check the white balance here. That's better. I want that a little bit wider. I think that looks pretty good. So there we go. That's kind of the theme that we had. Black kitty with necklace. Yes. G for grid. And we put one of the bracelets around this kitten. He didn't seem to mind. Yeah. And some of the kitties just played within them or walked through them. You know how it is. You just got to wait for cats to walk through the set. So, yeah, that was fun times. And this is all kitties look at Frank like, hello, I love you. And so, like, you can see her do that. Hi, Frank. Cute little tortie. And she wore the necklace as well. Let's go back. I want to show you, like, if you press number 1 and you say 1 star, that'll be 1 star, and then you can sort it by stars. And then while you're in the develop module, you can press the first one, press the second one with the shift key down and say sync, and you can sync your develop settings. I'm sure you all knew that, but oh, it's taking a second to sync. Oh, it showed up way over here. Hello. Let's sync all this. I already did oh, no, I didn't crop. Aspect ratio, synchronize. Okay, so then all the settings from this picture are now on this picture. And we just have to reset where the crop goes. Boop, boop, boop. I'm not ignoring you. I'm just looking at this other screen. So there we go. So there's Kitty. All right. Oh, I should come back over here. Hello, I'm back. Hi, everyone. Yeah, adorable. I know. It's the best job, Vicky. Hate to tell you, Patty, it's not that you take pictures of the cats, it's that they let you take pictures. Yes, that is so true. Yes, good point. Oh, goodness. Well, it's so good to see all of you. I guess this is turning to be the cats tolerate their staff. Yeah. You know how they say the internet is full of kitties? You're welcome. Thank you. This has turned out to be a half-hour weekly show instead of 15 or 20 minutes, but we're having a blast, so that's fine. I want to make sure that I let you know, of course, that if you are a professional or aspiring professional pet photographer, you can sign up to this brand new email group. And once a week on Friday mornings, I'll send out a little behind the scenes of my produced video from Friday, ask you a question and your input towards future content or this show. I also give you something to think about that we're going to talk about on the live stream show. And I have some more goodies coming up in the works. I have my schedule of content coming up. So you just don't want to miss any of that. That's pretty good. If you're at all thinking about being a pet photographer, I invite you to that free group. All right. Also, I know I talked about this last week, but if you like photographer and you keep asking for a shirt, here you go. I made a Teespring store. I have some shirts, tank tops, tote bag, and now there's a mask, but the photographer is just over on the side right here. Meh. It's not like they just have solid colors. I wouldn't say it's the best mask, but hey, if you want a mask that says photographer on one side, I got you. But of course, shirts and totes and socks. So there you go. Much requested. Let me go back over the comments. I think I missed something. Do I prefer Lightroom or On One? I prefer Lightroom. Partly because it just works with all of the Adobe suite that I have. I can just say edit in Photoshop, and then when I save, it comes right back over to Lightroom. how it all kind of works together. I do like On One. I used them when they very first came out. They had a lot of good portrait settings. I think, William, you were talking about that last week, or Patty was. There's nothing at all wrong with On One. There's a lot more options now because there's a lot of people that said, I'm just done with Adobe. And so we want to go do something else now. And so On One is one of those platforms, that you can use. I honestly haven't looked at it in a long time, but I did a lot. When I was doing more people photography, I used On One all the time because they had such a good portrait plugin. Yeah, okay, Patty, you're both switching to On One. Okay, super. Yeah, let us know. I'm kind of tied into the Adobe suite at this point. I have Premiere Pro, although Frank's got me almost talked into trying his video editing software, but they also have audio editing software, although Audacity is really good. There's a lot of programs. There's a lot of good ones that are really building out right now to be an actual contender against Adobe. Because let's face it, Adobe's been in business really heavily for 20 years, 20 plus. So, there's a lot of resources if you use those platforms. Once upon a time, I used Apple had one. I don't even remember what it was called, but I just used theirs for a long time. And then they discontinued it and I was out of luck. And so I'm like, nope, I'm going to a program that is, even though it's complex, there's tons of resources to learn how to use it. Let's see, GIMP. Okay, yes, Frank uses GIMP, which is open source. Correct me if I'm wrong. Raw Therapy and GIMP. Frank, you're a programmer. You love this. Yes. But I think GIMP might be getting more popular, actually. GIMP. Oh, Patty, GIMP too. Okay. I know. I had such a sweet deal with Adobe for about a year. It was like $29, $30 a month for everything. And that lasted a year. So I think I might write to them and say, hey, can you just continue that? I don't want to play this. I'm looking to flatten the learning curve. So, William, that's one of the reasons, like I was just saying, that I just went ahead and went with Lightroom, because even though it's complex, there's so many resources to learn how to use anything I want to know. And that's the problem I was having with the Apple software years ago. If I wanted to learn something, good luck finding the information. So here I am, paying the dollars. Yeah, both are open source. Yes. Which is kind of interesting in and of itself. If you like open source, it's just different, I think. I don't know. There's a lot of ways that you can fiddle with it. On One. Yes, On One. They've been building for quite a while. I would say On One's at least, when I lived in Washington, so at least 10 years old now. They're a contender. They've been in it for the long haul, so I wouldn't worry as much about them going kaput like the Apple one did. Oh, goodness. I've only done 1 or 2 tutorials on my workflow within Lightroom. Then when the pandemic hit, every photographer on YouTube was doing Lightroom and Photoshop tutorials. And I thought, I'm not going to do it. But, if y'all want anytime a tutorial on my workflow process besides the one I already have, then, just let me know and I will make you some. Let's see. Both are being actively developed. That's what I meant to say. Yes. So where maybe Adobe, they have their inside team working on something. Open source, a lot of people are always working on it. Correct? That's how I think of it. Yeah. All right. Okay. We're at that half-hour mark. Is there any other questions of what it looks like during this phase of the pandemic to go back to the shelters? I would like to answer any of those questions. Yeah, you're welcome, Vicki. Yeah, so before I sign out today, here, let me just pull up this just in case you didn't have a chance to write it down. Before I go offline, I just want to make sure I've answered all your questions. I'll get a drink of water. I do have some really cool stuff coming up, everybody. And I just keep adding things. But I do have some awesome content coming out that I think you're going to really like. Yeah. Let's see. I'm waiting for comments just in case. Comments. Yeah. I had Diana, my friend. She's like, you got to give people a chance to answer. You move on fast. I'm like, oh, I do. I'm a fast talker. And then there's that little bit of a gap in time between me saying it and you like typing it out. So I'm giving you a chance. Don't worry. It's good to see everybody. I like all my familiar faces, Vicky and Frank and Patty and William. Yeah, it's been great. And I do try to remember there is in the YouTube backend comments. And so I'll go over there and comment. Vicky, poor thing, I think you had commented and I'd forgotten to reply. So I went into that and replied to all your comments. So I will do that. If you have any questions afterwards. This Friday's video is finally the talking pet one. The videos are very cute. So we're going to be doing that. And then the weeks after that is all of my different ideas for making money with photo and video. Let me take this banner down. And Patty, what did you have to say? Looking to speed up your setup at the shelter, but it takes me half an hour or a little over to set up. Oh my goodness. That's a really long time. Patty, what is your setup? Why does it take so long? I'm assuming, thinking about setting up like when I usually do in people's houses or businesses, you have like a full-on background stand and backdrop and lights, and like, do you have that full setup, or is it more like you're just trying to find a spot at the shelter to set up, or you have something kind of DIY that has lots of parts and pieces? Why does it take that long to set up? I can tell you at the dog shelter side, I have my speed light that sits on a stand and bounces against the wall and back, and I just use their blank wall. I do not set up a backdrop stand. That's a lot of time. It's a lot of effort. I just use their blank wall. If I have a special project, I will bring in the whole setup, but that is so much more, and it's so much harder to get the dog to sit on there. Oh, full background stand. Limited garage has a gutter that I have to cover over. Now, is this for shelter work, Patty, or is this for client work? Sorry, I assumed it was for shelter work, actually, but it may not be. Limited to garage and has a gutter that I have to cover over. Okay. Okay, so I think you're talking about your private commission portraits. And actually then, oh no, you're at the shelter? Wowza. Okay, first of all, props to you for setting up everything full pro. Wowza. Yes shelter, no shelter. What? Okay. Now I'm lost, Patty. I feel like that part in Clue. Is there anyone else in the house? Yes or no? Do you remember that? 1984. Okay. Off topic. Limited to a garage. I would say a half hour is good. It's not, that's not very long at all. Setting up at the shelter, your full setup at the shelter. Okay. That's not bad. Half hour really isn't bad. If you're talking about the moment you roll up to the moment you're ready to click your shutter with a model in front of you, half hour is great. Now, if you're setting up in the very same spot every time, you could consider helping them out to build a setup for you. And it could be as easy as some hooks on the wall, and they can have some kind of a cloth or backdrop that stays there all the time. Then you just roll it up and out of the way of everybody. I've thought about doing that at this shelter. Still could do that because they're on board with that. Something that you could just leave up and you roll it down when you're there and you roll it back up. That would save a ton. It would save room and time and actually nothing extra to trip on. And then you just have maybe your light and a reflector or something. So see what you could build into the space. I know many shelters use each room as a multifunction room. Yeah, but that's not bad. I don't think a half hour is that bad at all. When I go into someone's house and I set up, it takes a while to get everything into the facility and move things around to set everything up. But I think that covering up the gutter takes a lot of time. Yeah. So if they have a little space that you could put your backdrop on a dowel and it's just way up out of the way, if you're using a cloth, that should be extra easy. It could even be clamps screwed to the wall. I mean, there's a lot of different ways you could do that. Shower curtain, tension rod, however you can do that, or even you probably can't actually use the gutter to hang things on if you have to cover it. But anyway, think about that. What can you hang from the wall that could just stay there and you can just clamp things on and off or roll it up? that kind of thing. That would save you a ton of time. Mm-hmm. And just like, I would say have the same setup every time. But if it's the gutter part, then yeah, that's an interesting space. I'm sorry, I'm looking at the comments over here. Yeah, let me know more. Patty, if you want to talk about it more, you can just email me too. That would be interesting. I would love to see the setup you're in, and I can help you out there. Yeah. We love photographing the animals. It's worth it. And I tell you what, Patty, I know that you're at some point going to open your own studio, and having all this knowledge by trying to figure out how to work in these spaces at the shelters is going to come in so handy for you. If you ever end up going to someone's business or their home to set up, you'll be like, I got this. I have set up in very small, very challenging spaces, and just clearing someone's dining room table out of the way, or someone's, conference room table, you're going to have no problem with that. Let's see. It's the gutter that moves fluid from the garage area. Huh. Oh, on the floor. Yes. Yeah. Frank and I were both like, a photo. Frank's kind of got an engineer mind too. So I think we could help you out. Okay. All right. I'm going to go. I think I need to find something more for lunch and drink some more water and edit these few kitty cat pictures to send over for them. It's been awesome seeing you all. Yeah. Remember to check your mail on Fridays for the new emails if you're signed up. Let me go back over here. Bye, everyone. Okay, good to see you. Have an awesome first full week of July. And as always, I wish you many woofs, purrs, and TREATSs.